Hey everybody, it's Alex. And right now, what I'm going to do is a weekly job update for pharmacists. We're going to be talking about new job opportunities, where to find them, a weekly job report, remote pharmacy work, and some complaints that have led to some significant action. So let's go. So Bloomberg did a report basically looking at the digital pharmacy space. They looked at Capsule. They talked with Capsule, Alto, and Medley. And these are all newer digital pharmacies. If you haven't heard of them, they at total have raised about $650 million, but it's only captured about 1% of the market, which is pretty typical for, startups in comparison to the big dogs that are out there. Um, what I thought was interesting about this report was that, CVS and Walgreens, they're already in the digital space. They're already able to take in orders. You're able to order online your prescriptions. So what I found about these digital pharmacy providers is that it's not really innovation that's going on. It's not really different. And yet somehow people are throwing money into the space just to compete with the big dogs. And we already know Amazon's into the space. But I wanted to bring this story up because I don't see this going away. I don't predict digital pharmacies are going away anytime soon. And in fact, I think more and more opportunities are going to be cropping up for pharmacists really doing digital pharmacy. And so that does mean that there are, I would say, not a lot of remote jobs in these digital marketing, digital pharmacies. But there definitely will be. There will be pharmacists who call patients up and provide education, answer questions, do things like troubleshoot problems. But overall, I think if you are looking for a new career, if you're thinking, I want to take my experience and I want to apply it in this space, it seems like a great opportunity. Obviously, understand the risks. And really, what I think the future of digital pharmacy really is niches. I think it's coming down to disease state niche companies that are owning that market and trying to provide them both medical and pharmacy needs. So an example of this is Roman, which focuses on men's health, and they specifically just started with digital health and prescription fulfillment in erectile dysfunction. I have one of my friends. He's the director of pharmacy there, Colin. I think that's the future, and I think if you are thinking about new career opportunities, try to find the riches in the niches. Okay, try to find jobs in that route. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is job trends. What's happened in the last week? Well, we have a strategic partnership with JobRx, and I wanted to look at what jobs have been cropping up in the last week. So in June, there was about just under 6,000 new jobs that were created in pharmacy for just pharmacist jobs, and about 1,200 in the last 7 days. What I find interesting, actually, is that the majority of these jobs are health systems. Typically, what we see overall is that the vast majority of jobs that are opening in pharmacy are community. Is this a trend? Find out more. Stay in contact with me because we're going to be doing our Q2 job market report here soon. But 60% of these jobs, that's crazy, are hospital. So if you are thinking about getting into hospital, maybe now's the time, but always be cautious. Always look into the financial health of hospitals, because if you didn't know, many hospitals are on the brink of closure, claiming bankruptcy, not doing very well. My own hometown hospital is an example of this. And then where are the jobs cropping up? California, Texas, Florida. No surprises there. And the top city that has the most jobs, Chicago. So if you want to check out more, if you want to look at those jobs, I definitely recommend going to JobRx, where you'll get the latest and greatest notifications of any jobs that crop up. Next up, I want to talk about remote work. We recently did a webinar about remote work, how to transition into one of those jobs, how to find those kinds of jobs. If you want that webinar, just send me a private message. More than happy to send you that replay. But I saw an article, by the way, I'll put links to all of these articles in the comments when I'm done with this live session. But Dartmouth Hitchcock, which is a major healthcare system, said that they're going to move about 2,000 employees to working remotely permanently. That's about 13% of their total workforce. Sadly, most of these jobs are non-clinical, but I think we are seeing more and more of this trend, and COVID has pushed us over. It kind of reminds me actually of the 1920s. I know it's 100 years ago. Don't want to get too historical here, but if you just think about what happened in the 20s, the Roaring 20s, a lot of innovation in work lifestyles changed during that period, and then obviously the Great Depression happened. Now, because of the COVID pandemic, so much change has happened in the workplace. So many pharmacists have gone remote or partially remote, and we're seeing it across the board in our healthcare system. I predict, I've got this kind of gut feeling based on all the articles that we read, all the headlines that are coming out, that we are seeing more and more people go remote. And I'm excited to see what happens next, because I think remote, in a way, I think it created great work-life balance. I think it creates a lot of satisfaction, but working for the wrong company can lead to burnout and overwork. I saw a comment from one pharmacist manager who said, I love and hate my cell phone because I can no longer put work down. I'm on call all the time. And I think that's going to be happening, unfortunately, more and more as we go remote. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And our final news story that I wanted to cover was that the Missouri Board of Pharmacy put together a task force to look into pharmacist complaints. So apparently, the Board of Pharmacy in just Missouri has been receiving hundreds and hundreds of complaints about safety issues, particularly in the community setting. No surprise, probably, to any pharmacist. It makes a lot of sense. We all know why. We all know what's going on. We all know that most retail pharmacies, I should say, in community, don't have any breaks. They're not allowed to go to the bathroom. And of course, that's going to lead to safety concerns. We also know that the National Workforce Survey that's done every 5 years by the NABP, published by, I believe, AACP, vast majority of pharmacists said they're very concerned about their workplace safety. They're worried about patient safety. I believe it was like 70% said that they were concerned about the amount of work that is required of them and concerns to safety. I hope this task force does something. You'd think they'd come up with a novel idea like mandating breaks, but we'll see what happens in Missouri. Currently, Missouri doesn't have any regulations for they don't have any regulations to pharmacy technician ratios, which obviously would be a huge help. It was pointed out by some major retailers that they've hired a bunch of people because of the COVID pandemic. We're talking like 10,000 new employees per major retailer. That does include technicians as well. Majority of them probably being technicians. However, the pandemic is ending soon. Vaccination numbers are going up, and they're not going to keep those people. We already know that. Why does it have to come to this? Why do we have to wait for regulation to try to fix things? Sorry, don't want to go on a tirade. Just want to say it's great. Thank you, Missouri Board of Pharmacy. Way to go, putting it together a task force. My hope is that you put in some new regulations to protect our pharmacists, to protect our patients. We all know what you need to do. We hope that you do it. Lisa, oh, hey, and Lisa, she made a comment. See it too in hospitals. We ask for quality and safety numbers based on acuity instead of patient beds. Nothing came of it. So I think, I don't like complaining. I don't like complaining about things that are outside of my control. It doesn't do me any good. It feels good, sometimes to get things off your chest. But wow, what I think the lesson here is we just have to complain. We have to let the Board of Pharmacy know there's issues here and you need to know about it. It just gave me an idea. Maybe we need to create some tutorials on how to do that, because I know just thinking about submitting a complaint in my mind, huge problem. I hate going through whatever processes that boards of pharmacy put up to say, like, what does a complaint look like? But I encourage you, if you have a concern, take 5 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to take. Write up your complaint, write up what you're worried about, what you're concerned about, and submit it. They will not notify your employers. These aren't anonymous reports, I'm fairly certain. Of course, you do need to be aware of who is on the Board of Pharmacy. We all know that sometimes people in power at very powerful places are put on boards of pharmacy. So just be aware of that when submitting complaints. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for commenting as well. Lisa Purdy, except we come disposable. We got to make our voices heard. We have to be heard. And I think the more we make our voices heard, the more we complain. That sounds so bad. But that's the lesson, isn't it? If we talk to our Board of Pharmacy, eventually something will happen. And my hope and my prayer is, Missouri Board of Pharmacy, please take action. Please make some legal things happen so that we protect not just our pharmacists, but patients, because that's why we do what we do. Thank you for listening to me do this weekly job update. We'll be doing these for the next 3 weeks in July on Thursday at 11 Central, 12 Eastern. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week. You look beautiful, by the way. Just thought I'd say.